Hey guys, Misery here, back with another CZM video. And in today's video, we're doing another Selector tier list because last night in the dev livestream, they actually changed the Selector, so it's up to Season 2 units now. They're including units such as Tiphera, Rita, 9, Narja, Yuki, Chizuru, all of the previous rate ups, but they're not going to include Diana since, you know, she's an off-season character and wasn't before Season 2. So something I want to say right before we get into the video, we're valuing the supports in this game pretty highly because for most gachas, you know, supports are always going to be on top, which is why we have units such as Veronica and Tiphera in SS tier. We aren't including any standard banner units just besides Veronica just because she's so good. So she's kind of like an honorable mention, but I would not advise to use your Selector on Veronica because you're getting a reroll banner. It's just better to use the reroll banner on Veronica because those are only standard units. It's better to get a Season 2 character from the Selector. And we already did previous videos for all these standard banners if you want to go check those out. Of course, just like my other tier list videos, I'm joined with my friend Gordon. Very informative, does a lot of theory crafting, does a lot of testing, every unit in the game at E6 along with their partners. So yeah, getting straight into the video, we're going to start off with 9 here in S tier. You may be wondering, why is 9 not in SS tier? Because a lot of people praise 9 for being so good, which she really is good. But when you value her compared to units such as like top tier supports as Veronica and Tiphera, I would rank 9 at S tier. Because the reality is 9 kind of just does the same thing as Clepe or even Mag. It's just that 9 is just a lot more user friendly. But what makes 9 so good is that she does a ton of damage straight out the gate, but she can also do AoE damage with her Master Q, and she can shield with her Q that is ironclad. So she has a lot of versatility, a lot of survivability, but being able to do damage while surviving. The downside of 9 compared to Clepe can shield and AoE at the same time, where 9 can't do both at the same time. You either have to go Massacre Hue or Ironclad Hue. Ever since 9 came out, I've really enjoyed her and she's been one of my favorite units. Would you mind explaining some of the reasons why you think, you know, 9 is just kind of like not as good as Tiphera while we put her S tier, Gordon?
Yeah, there are a couple of reasons. So 9's damage shielding is actually quite low. Like if we just add her base multipliers together for all the levels of her hue, it's less than 2,000. Majority of the other characters, when they get their full combo, is around 3,000 to 4,000. Some characters hit 7,000. So 9's viability and save data content is actually quite low. She can still clear it, right? But her overall damage output is not that impressive. And 9's pretty easily replaceable by Magna or Clepe if you want a good chaos runner, like for Sortie, right? In the live stream, we saw G-Clef get absolutely fucking carried by Clepe the entire run, right? So you don't need 9 for the chaos carry. If you have characters like Clepe or Magnum, all the 5-star vanguards are terrific for chaos, but 9 is just a little bit simpler to play. She's more of a side grade to Clepe, if that makes sense. The only reason why I think a lot of people think 9 is completely broken was because this current season was so turbo shilled to 9. The boss in floor 2 of Burning Life did not want to get hit often. Guess what 9 doesn't do? Hit often. The Rift obviously is completely catered towards banner units. And what's funny is that Tiphera actually outdamaged 9 in Great Rift because she had a better burst build. I don't really like 9 that much, but I think for a lot of like newer or low power level players, she's going to be a great addition.
Yeah, one of the main reasons that I loved 9 during Season 2 is that she made deck farming so much faster. If you had 9, you were farming decks at 2 times the rate. And most of the reason why people actually quit CZN is because it's very time consuming. They don't want to sit in chaos farming decks 24/7 because a lot of people have a life, you know? They are busy with other things. So saving time in this game is very important, and you know, that's why I kind of like value Clepe's dupes at such a high tier because it saves so much time when farming decks. I also just think 9 is an amazing hyper carry for early and mid game players. Once you get to end game, you know, you're gonna have more well-built characters and you know, you can just kind of use whatever. You don't necessarily like need 9, but 9 will make your life very much easier if you are new to this game. And if you already have a unit such as 9, moving on to the next character, we have Tiphera. Tiphera actually can work with 9 if you're running a flash hue build. They got some synergy there, but Tiphera just in general, one of the best supports in the game. I think Veronica is the best, and then I think Tiphera is right behind her. That's just me personally though. Like most people think they're on the same tier, but they just do different things. Like of course we know Veronica draws so much, but Tiphera, she can shield, she can be an AP battery, she can heal, she can buff, she can reduce the cost of ego skills. She does so much. And even though Tiphera is kind of like more of a gambling unit, there are consistent builds you have for her, but if you get really lucky on her event horizon, I could potentially draw 3 or even 4. Me personally, I don't like going gambling Tiphera. I prefer consistency over, you know, RNG.
So Tiphera is really high value, mostly because she's usable without any divines. There are decks that require divines, right? The seed that requires you to choose an archetype, that requires to draw a divine, or else it just goes too negative in your cycle. But if you use her with the predict seed, she can function completely fine without any divines on it. As long as you're playing that deck correctly, which is basically only just predicting the draw archetype seed. That's the only caveat to that comp. I don't really think Tiphera's a gambling unit because like it's controlled chaos. Obviously, Event Horizon can have drastic differences on how it turns out, but in general, she's just consistently AP positive and draw neutral or draw positive depending on how much your draw gets on Event Horizon. Like I think for all of these non-standard units right now, she is the highest priority. I just think that Tiphera, even though she might not be like completely optimal with everyone, she can be used with anyone. Every character can use AP, any character can use the heals or shields or the buffs to the cards. Like it's just, she can do whatever you want. Another great thing is that if you don't want Tiphera to be a support, she can be a great DPS as well. She has a damage build and her multipliers there are very competitive with the other characters.
Yeah, we'll see about that once Haide Marie releases, bro.
Okay, bro. Okay, I've looked at Haide Marie's numbers and they're just like not okay.
Didn't you say that her E6 is like 6,000 extra attack buff or something?
Yes, it's 6,000 extra attack. Her E6 out damages the entire roster, by the way. Like that's not normal. I think the fact that Haide Marie's dupes, every single dupe has 2 effects is just crazy.
Honestly, I think she may be breaking the 200k damage mark, even 300k. Is that too much to say? Like, I don't think that's crazy to say.
I mean, it depends on what content we have, right? It depends on what modifiers that they give us.
But yeah, that's why we have Tiphera in double S tier. Probably the best choice to select from the Selector since you're going to be getting Veronica from the reroll banner. Moving on to the A tiers, we have Narja. As I said earlier, you know, supports are always going to be on top in gacha games. So even though Haru is in a very strong place right now and good, Haru's only like kind of in that place because of Narja. Like Haru's retrieve comp requires Narja. So that's like why like Haru can do so much damage. Like if you've seen my 100k damage Haru video, that wouldn't have been possible without Narja. But Narja also just offers, you know, some solid healing. If you know you're having trouble with sustain, you got predation, you got veracity for the buffing, you got the AP friendly comp with their bottomless hunger, decreasing the cost of, you know, the other cards in the hand.
So Narja currently has 2 comps right now. One was with Retrieve Haru and one was with Move Rin. So if you don't want to farm for an AP Divine on Rin, Narja can easily circumvent all of her AP cost by using Bottomless Hunger on Draw Divine. I don't know how great making a Divine deck is after the buffs because they're adding like 20 extra Divines into the game. So if you don't have Narja's Draw Divine, Bottomless Hunger right now, I don't know how realistic getting that deck is anymore.
And that should go for any Divine deck. I don't think we're going to be farming Divine decks anymore after this latest patch. Because what do you mean they are adding 20 Divines? And if you look at them, most of them are worse than the existing Divines we already have. Like, what do you mean there's a -3 stress Divine? Why do we need that, Gordon?
It's for Sortie.
I mean, yeah, I know it's for Sortie, but it's just like, why is it in regular chaos? Just like, you know, make it specifically for Sortie.
The monkey paw curls. That's what happened.
If you know, you know. And then talking more about Haru, like I said before, Haru has like a really high ceiling. She can do 100k damage in the tower. That is her retrieve comp. The way her retrieve comp works, you basically spam 15 anchor shots every turn and they scale and ramp up. So the more turns you do it, the higher damage is gonna go. But even without it ramped up, you're still probably doing like 60k damage a turn, just like at base anchor shot, just because you're spamming 15 anchor shots. You have the anchor shot that creates 2 in the draw pile, so you have the base 1 plus the 2 creation, so that's 3. You have 4 anchor pointers that applies retrieve to all the anchor shots. So you have your first 3 anchor shots and then you apply retrieve, so on and so forth. That's gonna lead up to 15 anchor shots. Very fun composition and I recommend to farm it. You don't need a divine for the Haru deck. It's nice if you get increased damage or vulnerable or even always attack weakness on the anchor shot, but the comp is fine without the divine for Haru.
So a lot of people had this misconception about Haru being really bad, mostly because they were always comparing her to Meilin for like some reason. And obviously Meilin's unusable now because of elasticity, so who's laughing now? This retrieve comp only started existing after season 2 because in the first season our decks were extremely bloated, so getting the 3 create retrieve was actually really hard. Now the decks are so consistent and streamlined that getting 3 anchor shots into your hand every turn with all your retrieve combo is extremely easy. She still does okay damage without her retrieve comp, but her retrieve comp makes her do like 3 times the damage of a regular damage dealer, and it's very, very strong. And just a side note about Haru, she's actually pretty good in chaos. You just want your anchor shot, dupe some anchor pointers, and then you just go to town. She's good out the gate. She scales herself, so you don't need buffers. She's very self-sufficient. All you really need is AP, but if you have her E2, you don't really need AP for chaos. So in the B tiers, we have everyone else, mostly because they're kind of limited on what comps they can use. Rita is pretty good. She does good damage. Only issue is that she needs Tiphera, she needs Orlea. You know, she might need Mika as well instead of Orlea, depending on if you're playing the Fate imprint build or not. Overall, she's just another DPS. Like her damage is good, but it's not like that much better than average.
And Rita isn't that easy to play, right? Like you kind of like need to min-max her, know what you're doing. She's not beginner friendly.
Yeah, Yeah, if you fail her sequencing, you quite literally, like, your damage quite literally tanks. It goes through the fucking floor. So in this current dev livestream, they somehow recommended Heidi Marie with Rita. I don't know what they're talking about. There's no synergy between them. There's nothing Rita does that Heidi Marie wants. There's nothing Heidi Marie does that Rita wants. Maybe you can link your 9-cost Fate Imprints with Heidi Marie, but the issue is Heidi Marie just does more damage than Fate Imprints, so I don't know what the point is. I'm pretty sure Heidi Marie only links 1-cost attack cards too, so you can't even link your Fate Imprints. Yeah, I don't know. Rita can obviously be used as like an AP battery for 9. If you use the Future Decree that activates 3-cost cards in hand, you know, you can do that. Like if you get a Draw Divine on your, it says right here, activate 1 random 3-cost attack cards in hand. If you get a Draw Divine on Future Decree, you can cycle through all of your hues, right? But with Heidi Marie, I don't know why. So Chizuru's down here, not because she's like the worst, but mostly because her team building restriction is a little awkward. She only really does good with multi-hitters like Luke, and her inhibition does go +2 AP positive every turn, but it also removes the ability for other characters to gain AP. So her best team is Cassius and Luke together. I don't really think there's any other way to play her, because like other multi-hitters like Serenial don't need AP, right? She just doesn't care. She's free. I think right now the issue with Chizuru is mostly just she doesn't have a team right now outside of Cassius Luke. And for the Cassius Luke team, Cassius Luke would rather have Selena for coordinated attacks. So she currently doesn't have a terrific spot in the meta, but she is a sub DPS support. She does AP. She can draft Gearback Morale, right? She does have use cases, and if you don't want to farm a cost reduction Divine Luke deck, she gives enough AP to allow Luke to play his entire hand. So it's usable. She's not bad. I wouldn't like use the Selector on it. Like I would rather pick up Tiphera, but you know she's there. If you're missing Chizuru and you already have Tiphera, you know that's you can pick. So Chizuru does have a damage build, but her multipliers are just not there. Especially the best damage build is when you dupe Tsukuyomi with a Draw Divine. So you know you can add a bunch of hits to your Shadow of the Moon. The only issue with that comp is one, you need someone else to get all of her Shadow of the Flame, so you can get max stacks binding, right? And second is elasticity exists, so half of it just doesn't do damage. But if you do want to play her as a damage dealer, I think her best damage build that doesn't get completely wrecked by elasticity is her basic attack build with her Oni Hunt that creates 2 basics, and then you run her with Narja. Like it's not the best, but it's usable. Last but not least, right? I don't want any Yuki fans get so upset about this, but Yuki is at the bottom because at the end of the day, she is just another DPS without the ceiling of Haru. Yuki does have a really good comp, but you do need a 3 morale on your Flash Slash. That is the only way to play her. Her other epiphanies are quite bad. Like her base kit is extremely bad. That's why we're even using the 3 morale Flash Slash, right? And her playstyle is just, you know, get Freezing Blade active, get your Trickery Strike active, and every time you activate Inspiration, you do Freezing Blade and Trickery Strike. Every time you play 1 card, you do like 4 hits, right? It's a very fun comp. The issue is, it's like the deck is like not that easy to farm, and at the end of the day, other characters just do more damage than her. Like obviously once she hits more than 1 target, her damage skyrockets, right? Because she doesn't do bad damage, but she does need at least 2 targets to outpace a single target damage dealer. But maybe in the tower specifically, Yuki will have a time to shine.
Yeah, the reason why Yuki is just like so bad right now in the meta is because this game really lacks AoE content. We don't really have any sort of set in stone AoE content. We have Chaos, which is, you know, not really AoE content, I would call it. Some waves are AoE, some are not. And then, you know, same for towers, some waves are AoE, some are not. So maybe in the later floors for the tower, we get more AoE where Yuki can really shine. I have a really sneaking suspicion that is how it's gonna be, just because, you know, like they buffed her how many times now? Like 2 or 3 times, and people still complain about her. So like they've got to add AoE content by now, so like people stop complaining. All they need to do is add AoE content, boom, Yuki's fixed. Nobody will complain anymore.
So Yuki does do good damage AoE, but she does need her epiphanies to really shine. So even though in Chaos or Sortie, AoE actually matters a lot, she doesn't do much damage until you actually get her build running. So even then, in content where she does do good AoE damage, it's a lower power level format. She needs save data content that makes her AoE meaningful.
Yeah, which is gonna be the new tower, hopefully.
Me when I lie.
Bro, there's no way that they keep the tower single target, at least not the run-up waves to the bosses.
Yeah, I guess. I think for Yuki, her AoE damage, it's about to get power crept by Heidi Marie. So just Just a heads up.
Everybody's gonna get power corrupted by Hyde and Murray.
Okay, dude.
Except like Veronica, Tiphera, because they're supports.
Yeah, that's why you pick a support from your selector, because the banner unit's always going to be better than the previous banner units. That's just how these gachas work. You know, they're gonna introduce a Vanguard in season 4, and it's gonna make 9 look like a coughing baby.
Yeah, we're gonna look back on this in a few seasons, and 9 is just gonna be like C tier probably.
Yeah, most likely.
But yeah, that's gonna be the video. This is our recommendations and opinions on the season 2 selector tier list. Kind of unfortunate that they changed it last minute, since you know they said specifically it was just gonna be standard banner characters, so we gotta make an entire new video. But I don't mind. Love making these videos for you guys. You guys enjoy them. Let me know down below in the comments what you guys are gonna pick, if you're gonna get a new unit, if you're gonna get an ego manifestation or a dupe. I do have a video for the dupes. It's just for the standard characters. I'm not making a new video for, you know, the season 2 ones. Same with the partner selector. I'm just keeping my last one up, because really the only partner worth picking is Tiana for Tiphera. I don't really think any of the others are super meaningful or impactful. But yeah, I'd very much appreciate if you could support the channel, you know, like, comment, subscribe, and that's gonna be the video. Hope you guys take care, peace, and be safe until the next one.